Zara lay in the hospital bed. Her baby was almost ready to be born. She was in so much pain that her hands held tightly to the cold silver rails of the bed. Her face was wet with sweat and her hair stuck to her skin. Outside, heavy rain hit the window, making the room feel even colder and lonelier. Her husband, Ethan, stood near the window, but instead of looking at her, he looked down at his shining phone. His thumbs moved quickly, typing secret messages. The bright screen lit up his face. He didn't look at Zara. He didn't touch her hand. "Ethan," Zara whispered softly, her voice shaking like a weak thread. He didn't answer. His shoulders got stiff, but his eyes stayed on the glass. Another sharp pain rushed through her body. Zara bit her lips so hard she could taste blood. She stared at the ceiling, counting tiles just to keep herself calm. 1, 2, 3. She was still alone, even though Ethan stood right there. "Ethan, please," she said louder, her voice cracking. He finally looked at her for just a moment. His hazel eyes met hers, but only for a second before he looked back at his phone. "I'm here, Zara," he said flatly, like he was reading from a paper. "Just breathe," like the nurse said. Those words hurt more than the labor pain. Just breathe, as if that would fix everything. Zara's chest ached. She wanted to scream. She wanted him to see her, not ignore her. The nurse, an older woman with gray braids, looked up from the monitor. Her eyes were sharp. "Sir, she needs you present. Not on that phone." But Ethan just smiled, a fake smile, the kind he used at work. "I'm handling something. Won't take long." He didn't even look at them. Zara's heart dropped. She knew that smile. She knew who was on the other side of that phone. Cassandra Lorne, Ethan's boss. The woman who wore fine suits, who texted Ethan late at night. Zara had never met her, but her name haunted Zara's peace like a shadow in their home. Another strong pain rolled through Zara's body, and she gasped loudly. Her hands shook as she clung to the bed rails. But then she saw Ethan's face glow. His phone buzzed, and her stomach twisted. His smile was brighter than it had been with her in months. She saw the name on his screen. Cassandra. "Ethan," she begged, her voice weak. "I need you here." But Ethan slid the phone into his pocket like a treasure. "I'll be right back," he said calmly, adjusting his tie as if he were going to a meeting. The nurse warned him. "She's close, sir. You might miss it." But Ethan was already at the door. "5 minutes," he said, like he could control time. The door shut behind him, and the room grew smaller. Zara's eyes filled with tears, but she refused to let them fall. She had to be strong for her baby, Kian. She had whispered his name to her belly for months, even when Ethan didn't listen. The nurse touched Zara's arm gently. "You're doing fine, sweetheart." But Zara barely heard her. She kept staring at the door, hoping Ethan would walk back in with love in his eyes. But the seconds ticked by. Nothing. She gripped the rails tighter. Her heart was breaking, but her resolve was becoming strong as steel. If Ethan chose to leave, she would still fight. For Kian. For herself. The monitor beeped, steady like a drum, telling her the baby was almost here. Zara let out a low, powerful sound, not just from pain, but from courage. Ethan might have walked away, but she was still here. Then the door opened again. Zara's heart jumped. Hope flickered inside her chest. But her hope crashed. Ethan walked in, his tie still neat, and beside him stood a tall woman in a dark navy suit. She had pale skin, sharp eyes, and diamond earrings. Zara knew at once, Cassandra Lorne. Cassandra's lips curved into a cold smile. "Zara," she said smoothly, "you look resilient." The word cut like a knife. Zara's nails dug into her palms. Another contraction ripped through her, and she groaned, but her eyes stayed locked on the woman. Ethan stepped forward. His voice sounded like a business speech. "Zara, we need to talk. This isn't working. It hasn't been for a while." Zara's vision blurred. She could barely believe what she heard. "Not working?" she rasped. "I'm having your son, Ethan, right now." For a second, his face cracked. But then Cassandra spoke, her tone sharp and cold. "Let's be honest. You're holding him back. Ethan deserves more than this." Her hand waved at the bed, the machines, and at Zara herself, as if she was nothing. "Get out!" Zara growled, fury trembling in her voice. Both of you. The nurse snapped, her eyes blazing. This is a delivery room, not a conference hall. Out. Now. But Cassandra didn't move. Her gaze stayed on Zara, almost amused. Ethan reached into his jacket and pulled out folded papers. He placed them on the bedside table. It's done, Zara, he said softly. Divorce papers. Sign them when you're ready. Her eyes fell on the papers. Black ink on white. Final. Her hands trembled, not from labor, but from betrayal. Another contraction slammed into her. She clutched the rails and cried out. Her body was tearing apart, but her heart was breaking even more. Ethan stood with Cassandra, leaving her to fight alone. Cassandra leaned closer to Zara. Her perfume was strong, sharp, and it felt like a warning. You'll be fine, Zara, Cassandra said in a sweet but fake voice. Women like you always are, strong and tough, right? She stood tall, brushed her sleeve as if dust was on it, and gave Ethan a small nod. We're done here. Ethan stopped for a moment at the door. His hand touched the frame, and his eyes moved quickly toward Zara. She caught it, the tiny spark of guilt on his face, but it was hidden under his desire to follow Cassandra. And then he left, the door closing behind them, their footsteps fading down the hall. The nurse stayed by Zara's side. She held Zara's hand, warm and steady. You don't need him, the nurse said softly. You hear me? You've got this. Zara nodded, but inside her chest, the nurse's words felt far away. Her heart was beating so loudly, it was hard to hear anything else. She remembered Ethan's cold face, Cassandra's cruel smile, resilient. That word burned in her mind, a tease, a challenge. She decided to turn it into her weapon. When the next wave of pain hit, Zara let out a loud, deep cry. It wasn't only for the baby she was bringing into the world, it was for herself, for her strength, for her fight to rise again. The machine next to her bed beeped faster. The nurse's voice told her to push, to keep going. Zara's world became small, just the pain, the purpose, and the life she was about to meet. Ethan was gone, but she was still here. She was still strong. She was still fighting. The rain outside the hospital window grew softer. Zara promised herself fiercely that this betrayal would not break her. It would make her stronger. Her body shook as she gave one last push, then a sound filled the room. A baby's cry, sharp and alive. Kian, her son. The nurse lifted him up, his small body wet and wriggling, his tiny fists swinging. Zara's arms trembled as she reached out. Her hands touched his warm, soft skin. His loud cries slowed into a small whimper. She held him close to her chest, feeling his tiny heartbeat against her own. Tears filled her eyes. Not from the pain, but from this powerful moment. He was hers. Pure, perfect, untouched by the pain of betrayal. He's perfect, Mama, the nurse whispered kindly. You did it. Zara nodded, unable to speak. She traced Kian's soft cheek with her finger, memorizing every detail. For a moment, Ethan's absence, Cassandra's poison words, and even the divorce papers on the table, all of it disappeared. All that mattered was Kian. But the world didn't stop for long. Her phone buzzed on the table beside her. Once. Twice. Again. She ignored it at first, not wanting anything to take her away from Kian. The nurse looked at the phone, worried. Want me to check that? Zara shook her head and held Kian tighter. No, it can wait. But deep down, she knew it couldn't. She already knew who it was, Dr. Amara Voss, her partner in the vaccine project, the one secret she had kept from Ethan, the project that could save millions of lives. Her hand moved slowly, as if through water, and picked up the phone. The screen glowed. We need to talk. Investor meeting in 48 hours. Don't miss this. Zara's stomach twisted. She had been avoiding Amara's calls, too broken by Ethan's betrayal. She typed back with shaky hands, I'll be there. But fear filled her chest. Could she really do this? Could she lead a meeting and convince investors when her heart and life had just fallen apart? Then Kian stirred. His tiny fingers wrapped around her own, and Zara felt something spark inside her, a flicker of steel. She had to do this, not only for herself, but for him. That evening, Zara sat in her mother's small apartment. The air smelled of sage and old wood. Kian was against her shoulder, sleeping softly. Her mother, Eleanor, cooked in the kitchen, her braids swaying as she stirred a pot of stew. "You eat yet?" Eleanor asked firmly. "Not hungry," Zara whispered, staring at Kian. Eleanor placed a bowl of stew in front of her. "You can't help that boy if you starve yourself." Zara's lips curved in the smallest smile. Eleanor was a rock, tough, unbreakable. She had raised Zara to bend but never break. That was the strength Zara needed now. Her phone buzzed again. A message from Amara, sharper this time. "Your slides were a mess. Fix them by tomorrow." Zara's heart sank. She had sent a rough draft last week, broken and incomplete. She had thought she had time, but now there was none. She opened her laptop. The bright screen hurt her tired eyes. Kian's soft breaths grounded her as she looked at the messy slides. Disjointed, unfinished, just like her state of mind. She tried to work, but Ethan's words came back. "It's done, Zara." Cassandra's smirk. The divorce papers. Her chest tightened until she could hardly breathe. Her mother's hand rested gently on her shoulder. "You're stronger than this," Eleanor said, firm and calm. "Whatever he did, that's his shame, not yours." Zara's eyes filled with tears. She nodded, swallowing hard, and turned back to her laptop. She forced herself to type, word by word, even though each one felt heavy like a stone. Then a notification popped up, a file from her cloud storage. She hadn't opened it in weeks. She clicked. Her breath caught. It was her early vaccine notes, the ones she had once shared with Ethan. Notes he had been oddly curious about before dismissing them as too ambitious. Her pulse raced. Did Ethan take them? Did he give them to Cassandra? She scrolled further, and there it was, a formula she had left broken on purpose. A trap. It looked real, but it had mistakes only an expert would see. Her lips pressed into a hard line. If Ethan had shared it, Cassandra was building her project on a lie. Kian whimpered, pulling her back. She rocked him gently, her mind racing. She could fix her slides. She could prepare for the meeting. She could protect her project. This betrayal wasn't just in her marriage, it was in her work, and it lit a fire in her. She wasn't only fighting for Kian or for herself, she was fighting for everything she had built. Eleanor placed a warm mug of tea beside her. Her mother's eyes were sharp and knowing. "You going to let him take this from you too?" she asked quietly. Zara's jaw tightened. Her hand curled into a fist. "No," she said, strong, clear, unshakable. She turned back to the laptop, this time with purpose. The rain outside had stopped, but inside a storm was rising. Her fingers typed quickly, each sound of the keys a beat of defiance. Kian snored softly against her chest. The laptop's glow lit the room as Zara worked through the night. Her slides were cleaner now. Her vision was strong. A vaccine to save millions, starting with the poor communities she knew too well. But Ethan's betrayal still throbbed inside her, pushing her forward. Each keystroke was proof she would not break. Her phone buzzed again. Amara's voice came through the speaker, brisk but not unkind. "You're late. Investors are waiting. You ready?" Zara swallowed. "I will be," she said, her voice steadier than her heart. She glanced at Kian, sleeping peacefully, and strength filled her chest again. She had fixed her slides. The meeting was tomorrow. Failure wasn't an option. Not now. She closed the laptop. Eleanor's apartment was quiet, the smell of sage still in the air. Zara stood by the window, holding Kian close. The city lights shimmered in the distance. Somewhere out there, Ethan was in Cassandra's shiny world of towers and wealth. Zara's lip curled. Let him stay there. She was building something greater. Across the city, Ethan leaned on the bar in Cassandra's penthouse. The room sparkled with chandeliers and glass. He sipped bourbon, but his smile was fake. "You're distracted," Cassandra said, her sharp eyes watching him. "That's not useful." He forced a smile. "Just adjusting." But his hand gripped the glass too tight. Cassandra had been colder since they left the hospital. Her questions about Zara's project were sharper. She wanted more details, details he didn't have. His stomach turned. Had he miscalculated? Wait a second. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe and share your favorite part in the comments below. And don't forget to drop a heart to show your support. Back at Eleanor's, Zara sat with Dr. Tariq, her old college friend and lead scientist. Charts and formulas glowed on his laptop screen. "This is it," Tariq said, excitement in his voice. "The vaccine is ready for trials. But we need big funding." Zara nodded. "The investor meeting could change everything." "Are you sure about keeping this secret?" Tariq asked, worried. "If Cassandra is digging, she is," Zara said firmly. Then she told him about the stolen notes and the broken formula trap. Tariq chuckled. "You're ruthless." Zara almost smiled. "Not ruthless, strategic, surviving." She pulled up the decoy file again. If Cassandra was using it, she was already failing. The betrayal cut deep. Not just losing Ethan, but him stealing her work. "You're caring too much," Tariq said gently. "Let me handle the tech. You focus on the pitch." He touched her hand briefly. Zara pulled away. She wasn't ready to let anyone close. Not after Ethan. "I'm fine," she said sharply. Then softer. "Thanks." Across town, Cassandra paced in her office, her calm mask slipping. "Your wife's project is trash," she snapped, throwing a tablet on her desk. "The formula doesn't work." Ethan froze. His throat went dry. He had sworn the notes were solid, but now he realized Zara had outsmarted him. Cassandra's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You promised me gold. Don't waste my time." Fear shot through him. For the first time, he wondered if Zara had always been smarter than he knew. Back in Eleanor's apartment, Zara stood over Keon's crib, watching him sleep. Her phone buzzed again, a small confirmation from a nonprofit, a tiny piece of funding. Not enough, but it was a start. Zara closed her eyes and let the heavy day sit on her shoulders. Ethan had betrayed her. Cassandra had been rude and proud. Her important notes had been stolen. But instead of breaking her, these things gave her strength. They were like wood added to a fire in her heart. Tomorrow she would meet the investors, and she would not go as the sad woman Ethan left behind, but as the strong woman who had outsmarted him. She looked out of the window. The city lights shined bright, almost sharp. Her reflection looked back at her, serious, brave, and not broken. Cassandra thought Zara was weak. Ethan thought she was small. But they were both wrong. She was a storm, and she was only beginning. Zara's breath shook a little as she tucked the blanket around her son, Keon. His tiny snores filled the room like soft music, keeping her calm inside Eleanor's small apartment. On the table, her laptop was open. The big investor pitch was ready, every word sharp and strong. Still, her heart beat fast with worry. Cassandra was out there, already using the stolen notes. But Zara had made those notes into a trap. They would fail. That thought gave her a small, grim joy, but it was not enough. She needed to protect her vaccine, her company, her son, everything Ethan had tried to take away. Her phone buzzed. It was Amara again. "They're expecting something amazing tomorrow," Amara said, her voice tight and worried. "Don't mess this up, Zara. This is our one chance." Zara's jaw tightened. She curled her hand into a fist. "I won't," she said in a strong voice. She ended the call and looked back at Keon. For him, she would be unstoppable. Across the city, Ethan leaned against the glass window of Cassandra's tall penthouse. The shining skyline looked like a promise he couldn't touch. His drink sat on the table, ice melting into golden pools, but he hadn't touched it. Cassandra walked back and forth, her heels clicking like a clock. Her voice was sharp as she glared at him. "You're slipping," she said, arms crossed. "I need results, Ethan, not weak excuses." He turned to her, forcing a smile even though his throat felt dry. "I gave you everything I had from her project," he said softly. "You told me it was enough." Cassandra laughed, a laugh as sharp as glass. "Enough. It's worthless. Your wife tricked you." Her words hit him hard, like a punch to the chest. Ethan felt sick. Could Zara really have played him? He always thought she was steady and easy to predict. But maybe he was wrong. Cassandra stepped closer, her perfume too strong. "Fix this," she warned in a low voice, "or you're out." Then she turned away and started texting someone else, ignoring him like he was nothing. Ethan's fingers twitched. He needed Cassandra's power, but the ground under him felt shaky, like it might fall away. Back at Eleanor's apartment, Zara sat with Tariq at the dining table, their laptops glowing in the dim light. Tariq pointed to his screen. "The trial data is safe," he said quickly, "but we need to secure the servers. If Cassandra is as dangerous as you say—" He stopped and looked at her, his eyes full of worry. "She is," Zara said firmly. She showed him a file with the decoy formula's secret codes. "She's using it, but it's costing her time, money, and her name. I planned this months ago." Her lips curved, not into a smile, but like a sharp blade. The trap was working, but the victory didn't last long. Her phone pinged again, an alert from her company's server. Someone was poking at the firewalls, trying to break in. Cassandra. Tariq leaned back, frowning. "She's not joking around, Zara. We need to fight back right now." Zara nodded, her fingers flying across the keyboard. She set up a honeypot, a fake server to trick the hacker. Her heart raced, not with fear but with focus. This was her world, her fight. She would beat them both. Meanwhile, Ethan stood outside Cassandra's office door, listening. Inside, Cassandra spoke sharply on the phone. "Find out what she's hiding," Cassandra hissed. "I want her project destroyed." Ethan's stomach twisted. She was talking about Zara, about the vaccine he once thought was silly. But now, hearing Cassandra's fear, he realized the truth. Zara was winning. He stepped back, his thoughts racing. Cassandra's plan was bigger than he knew, and he was only a pawn. His hand brushed his phone, Zara's number still saved. He could warn her, maybe try to say sorry, but the thought died quickly. She would never trust him again, and she shouldn't. He had chosen Cassandra. Back at Eleanor's, Zara's phone buzzed again, a message from a nonprofit investor asking for a follow-up meeting, a lifeline. She exhaled, her shoulders loosening just a little. Kian stirred in his crib, and she walked to him, gently brushing his cheek. His warmth reminded her why she was fighting, for him and for the people her vaccine could save. Tariq's voice broke the silence. "You're carrying too much alone," he said softly. "Let me help you." His hand hovered near hers, offering more than just help. But Zara pulled back. Her walls were still high. "I've got it," she said firmly. Her voice was clipped, though her eyes showed a flicker of thanks. She wasn't ready to lean on anyone again, not after Ethan's betrayal. Outside, the city hummed, alive and loud. Zara stood by the window. Cassandra's hacking attempt had failed, caught in her trap. But it was only a matter of time before the next move. Ethan's lies, Cassandra's plans, they were now fuel, making her stronger. The next morning, Zara walked into the big conference room. Her heels clicked against the marble floor. Each step was bold. Her dark suit fit like armor, and her sharp eyes silenced the room. The investors, gray-haired men and sharp-eyed women, watched her closely. Kian's little face flashed in her mind, his tiny hand gripping her finger. She set her laptop on the table and began. "This vaccine," she said in a clear, steady voice, "will save millions, starting with the people the world forgets." The screen behind her lit up with data and bright charts. Her words cut through the stale air. Each fact was like a brick, building a strong wall around her. Amara sat in the corner, nodding, urging her on. Zara's heart pounded, not with fear, but with the weight of this chance to rewrite everything Ethan and Cassandra tried to steal. Halfway through, a man in a striped suit leaned forward, his brow furrowed. "It's ambitious," he said coldly, "but risky. Why should we trust you?" Zara's lips curved, not into a smile, but a challenge. "Because I've already beaten the competition," she said. She clicked to a slide showing her trial's success. She didn't even need to say Cassandra's name. The numbers spoke louder than words. Across town, Cassandra's office was filled with anger. Papers were everywhere. On her tablet, test results glowed, failed tests from Zara's fake formula. "You told me this was solid," Cassandra shouted, her eyes sharp and cold. "Now I'm bleeding money, and you're useless." Ethan's mouth went dry. He thought Zara's notes would make him powerful, but now they were like a rope around his neck. "I didn't know," he said weakly. Cassandra laughed, sharp and merciless. "You didn't know your own wife?" She stepped closer. "I'm done fixing your mistakes, Ethan. Fix it or you're gone." Her words hit him like a slap. Zara hadn't just survived. She had outplayed them both. Back at the conference, Zara finished her presentation. Her last slide showed her dream. Vaccines for Africa, for the poor, for the forgotten. The room went silent. Then whispers started. Heads nodded. Hands scribbled notes. The striped man leaned back, his face changing from doubt to respect. "We'll fund it," he said. The words washed over Zara like a wave. Relief and triumph rushed together. $20 billion. Her company was saved. Her dream was real. But as she packed her laptop, Amara pulled her aside. "We've got a problem," she whispered. "Someone's still trying to break into our servers." Zara's jaw tightened. Her mind flashed to Cassandra. She had traps set, but the persistence still worried her. "I'll handle it," she said. That night, at a gala celebrating the deal, Zara stood alone by a tall window. The city lights stretched below her. Her phone buzzed. A message from her security team. They had caught the hacker. The trail led to Lorne Industries, her lips pressed into a thin line. She had lured Cassandra into her trap. But then came an email from Amara. "The feds are investigating Lorne for fraud. Your trap gave them proof." Zara's breath caught. She had done more than protect her project. She had turned Cassandra's greed against her. She imagined Cassandra's face, her empire collapsing. Meanwhile, Ethan sat at a bar watching the gala on TV. Zara's face appeared on the screen. "Zara Bennett, CEO of Horizon Biotech, secures $20 billion deal," the anchor said. His chest tightened as her confident smile cut deeper than Cassandra's insults ever had. His phone buzzed, Cassandra calling him back. When he arrived at her office, it was chaos. Cassandra's face was pale, her hands shaking. She slammed the phone down. "You idiot," she screamed. "Your wife set me up! The feds are here!" Ethan's stomach dropped. Zara had outplayed them completely. Cassandra's eyes narrowed. "You're finished," she hissed, slamming the door in his face. At the gala, Zara stepped onto the balcony. The cool air brushed her face. Her phone buzzed again. A photo from Eleanor of Kian, sleeping peacefully, clutching his blanket. Zara's heart softened. She had won this battle, but she knew Ethan would crawl back one day. Let him. She was ready. Later that night, Zara stood with Kian at the gates of her new estate. The big house behind her shined with glass and steel, proof of the empire she had built from Ethan's ashes. Her phone was silent, the $20 billion deal still echoing in her veins. Then she saw him, Ethan. His coat was messy, his steps unsure. In his hands was a cheap bouquet of daisies. The sight twisted something in her chest. Not pain, not anymore. Only a cold, clear truth. Ethan stopped at the gate. His fingers shook as it hovered over the button for the intercom. "Zara," he said, his voice scratchy through the speaker. "Can we talk?" Inside, Zara held her little boy, Kian. Kian pulled gently at her sweater, and she shifted him in her arms. Her jaw tightened. She pressed the button and spoke, her voice calm but cold. "Why are you here, Ethan?" The gate buzzed open. Ethan walked through. His eyes moved over the pretty house, the green lawn, and the safe life she had built. He looked smaller than she remembered. The shine he once had from living with Cassandra was gone. "You look different," he said, his eyes moving over her cream sweater and strong, steady stance. "Good. You look good." Zara's lips pressed together. Her eyes were sharp, like they could see right through him. "Say what you came to say," she told him, her voice hard. Kian's small hand curled into her sweater, keeping her strong. Ethan cleared his throat and held out a bunch of daisies like an offering. "I messed up," he whispered. "I shouldn't have left you." "Not like that. Not ever." His eyes moved to Kian, softening for a moment. But Zara didn't soften. Her eyes stayed hard. "I want to make it right. For you. For him," Ethan said. Her chest tightened, but not with love. Instead, she remembered the pain in the hospital room when he had left her. She remembered Cassandra's smirk at his side. She held Keon closer and spoke firmly. You think flowers fix that? You left me when I was breaking, Ethan. You treated me like I was nothing. Her words cut like a blade. Ethan flinched, his shoulders bent forward. I know, he said, his voice shaking. I was wrong. I saw you on TV, Zara. The company, the work, you're amazing. I'm proud of you. He stepped closer, his eyes begging her. I want another chance, to be a family. Zara laughed, but it was not a happy laugh. It was sharp and bitter. A family? You don't get to walk back into my life just because I won. You left me because you thought I was small. You chose her, and you stole from me. Ethan's face went pale, his hand dropped with the flowers. I didn't, he began. Don't, she cut in. I know you gave my notes to Cassandra, but here's the truth. I let you. I planted mistakes in those files. You didn't just betray me, Ethan. You betrayed yourself. His mouth opened, but no words came. His eyes grew wide as he realized what she had done. The truth crushed the last of his pride. Zara, he whispered, I didn't know what I was losing. You still don't, she replied, her voice steady as steel. She shifted Keon, her eyes softening as she looked at her son. Then her gaze turned hard again as she looked at Ethan. Keon isn't yours, Ethan. He never was. The words hit him like a heavy blow. His knees bent, his breath caught. I chose a donor, she continued. You were never ready to be a father. Ethan's face crumpled. The daisies slipped from his hand onto the gravel. You can't mean that, he whispered. I mean every word, Zara said firmly. I survived without you. More than that, I built this. She waved at the house, the safe life behind her. You don't get to claim it now. His eyes were wet, but she felt no pity, only strength. I could give you a job, she said coldly. Something small at Horizon. You'd see Keon sometimes. You could earn your way back if you tried. She paused, watching his face twist with pride and shame. But you won't, will you? Ethan shook his head. His voice was almost gone. I can't do that. He stepped back, leaving the daisies on the ground. I'm sorry, Zara, he said, his voice breaking. For everything. She said nothing. She turned and walked away, carrying Keon toward the house. The gate shut behind her with a heavy clang. It sounded final, like a door closing forever. Inside, she laid Keon in his crib, her fingers gently brushing his cheek. His warmth kept her steady. Ethan's apology echoed in her head, but it meant nothing. She had built her life without him. That night, Zara stood on the rooftop terrace of her home. The cool air touched her scarf as she looked over the bright city. Inside, Keon laughed as Eleanor played with him, his tiny hands holding a toy truck. Zara's lips curved into a soft smile. She had built this home, this company, this peace, not because of Ethan, but in spite of him. Her phone sat silent, no more threats, no more tricks. Cassandra was gone, her empire falling apart with the government chasing her. And Ethan? He was just a ghost now. The gala tonight was hers. A celebration of Horizon Biotech's first vaccine, free for clinics across Africa. Her heart filled with joy, not pride, but purpose. She thought of the neighborhoods she grew up in, the families she wanted to help. Her fingers touched a necklace Eleanor had given her, with one word carved on it, endure. Endure. She had endured. She still would. Tariq stepped onto the terrace. He didn't rush her. He just stood by her side, steady and kind. You ready for the speech? He asked with a gentle smile. Zara nodded. Ready. He brushed her hand softly but didn't press. You don't have to do it all alone, he said kindly. Her chest tightened, but not with fear. With possibility. I know, she said softly. I'm learning. Tariq's smile was patient, warm. He stepped back, giving her space. She loved that about him. Far away, Ethan sat in a dark bar. On the TV, news showed Cassandra's arrest. Her hands were in cuffs, her power gone. Ethan's own life had fallen apart. His money, his apartment, everything. His hand shook as he held a drink. He tried to call Zara, but her number was blocked. He saw her on TV at the gala. She stood tall, glowing, untouchable. The woman he left in a hospital bed was gone. She was someone he had never truly known. His phone buzzed. A message. Heard you applied at Horizon. Tough break. He had tried to beg for a small job at her company, but the rejection had come as a cold form letter. It hurt more than anything. He had lost everything. The glass slipped from his hand and broke on the floor, and no one even looked his way. At the gala, Zara walked to the podium. The crowd went silent. Her dress shimmered, but it was her voice that held them. This isn't about profit, she said. It's about people, about giving back what was once taken. She spoke of the vaccine, the lives it would save. She didn't speak of Ethan. She didn't need to. His shadow was gone. The applause was loud, but her mind was already on the future. More clinics, more schools, more research. Later, Tariq brought her 2 glasses of sparkling water. "You are unstoppable," he told her. She took one, her hand brushing his. "We're unstoppable," she said with a smile. And for the first time, she let herself imagine a future with him. Not as her rescuer, but as her partner. That night, she stood again on the terrace. Kian was asleep inside. She thought of Ethan, of his broken daisies, his empty words. But she felt no anger, only quiet strength. She would teach Kian not about his father's failures, but about her resilience, about choices that build instead of break. The stars above were sharp and bright, like the path she had made for herself. She wasn't alone. Eleanor, Tariq, Amara, and Kian were with her. The road ahead was hers. Not filled with pain, but with purpose. She turned back inside, the door closing softly behind her, and for the first time, she felt fully at home. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed it, you'll love the next one. It's even more exciting and full of surprises. Share your story in the comments below. Maybe your story will be the next one I share.